Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, Alex. I'm flying solo today with Callie, unfortunately out sick. You are listening to 88.3 FM WQRI, Roger Williams University Student Radio in Bristol, Rhode Island, and this is Hope Pod Live with your weekly news. Hope Pod Live is Communities of Hope Civic Media's live radio show where we cover and share news about social justice issues on campus and in Rhode Island. We first want to welcome you all back to our second week of Hope Pod Live, and we're back this week with another great show, including a story from our data team, some news from SJN, a new story about the women's hockey team coming, and so much more. So stay tuned for our show. We'll be right back with all of that amazing stuff right after our newscast and a quick PSA. Take a listen.
I'm Brianna Fasora.
And I'm Michaela Gain.
And this is Hope. Rhode Island Director of Transportation Peter Alviti steps down. After 11 years as Director of RIDOT, Peter Alviti, whose career is headlined with the closure of the Washington Bridge in December 2023, is retiring on February 27th after Governor Dan McKee accepted his letter of resignation. In this letter, Alviti said Rhode Island met its goal of having less than 10% deficient bridges. But a recent WQRI Target 12 investigation found RIDOT removed over 700 bridges from its quarterly progress reports to state lawmakers, which allowed the agency to claim it met its goal of having 90% of the state's bridges in good condition. Alviti promises that his resignation is not related to the Washington Bridge and he wasn't fired or asked to resign. A statement provided from RIDOT at a request reads, "When Peter Alviti was appointed in 2015, Rhode Island had the worst roads and bridges in the country. Drawing from the skill set he obtained from his formal education at Roger Williams University and from his long career as an engineer, he made a comprehensive assessment of the state's transportation assets and created Rhode Island's first 10-year transportation plan that would reduce our percentage of failing bridges to 10% in 10 years and reform our transportation systems to meet our future needs. Over the last 10 years, we have repaired or rehabilitated bridges, and we are on track to reach 10% bridge efficiency this year. Mr. Rocio intends to continue to implement RIDOT priorities into the 10-year plan."
In the months following the December 2025 shooting at Brown University's Barris and Hawley building, officials say their focus has been on strengthening campus safety while supporting community healing. Hugh Clements, interim vice president for the public safety and chief of police at Brown University, emphasizes that the goal is not to create a campus defined by fear, but one defined by preparedness, vigilance, and mutual care. Since the incident, Brown has begun to still use traditional keys to a card access system. The university is also expanding its blue light emergency phone system across campus, including the addition of cameras. In partnership with the global consulting firm Tino, Brown is completing an after-action review to evaluate safety policies and procedures. And other measures include improving good coordination with legal agencies and regional mental health resources, enhancing public safety training and staffing. The university has also launched Brown Ever True, a campus-wide roadmap to recovery led by Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, Matthew Gutierrez. The initiative focuses on including resilience, workshops, small group discussions, expanded mental health access, and conversations about memorializing victims. Brown University officials urged anyone with questions about campus safety or recovery efforts to visit the university's website where detailed updates, frequently asked questions, and support resources are available.
Rhode Island lawmakers are backing legislation requiring middle and high school ID cards to include the phone numbers for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration Helpline, giving students and staff quick access to crisis support as youth mental health challenges continue to rise. In a press release from the Rhode Island General Assembly, State Senator Victoria Gu and Representative introduced the bill to help prevent suicides and substance abuse-related emergencies. "We want to put help at their fingertips," Gu said, noting the hotlines are anonymous and available 24 hours a day. Reed, a former Warwick police officer, added that early access to these services could save lives. The proposal comes as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that suicide rates among people ages 10 to 24 increased by more than 50% between 2007 and 2021, considering measures.
The tiniest patients at Women and Infants Hospital in Providence celebrated a big milestone recently, their first Valentine's Day. According to the hospital officials, the littlest patients in the neonatal intensive care unit were dressed up in festive outfits made by volunteers with the nonprofit group project called Sweet Peas. These outfits were specifically made to fit around the medical equipment on each baby. The littlest Valentine have been capturing hearts and continue to be supported by Project Sweet Pea's mission to support families due to their difficult times. To find out more about this project, go to projectsweetpeas.com.
Brown University hosted a private memorial for victims of the fatal December shooting. A source within the school reported that the service, which included remarks by students, friends, and campus leaders, was restricted to those with a valid university ID. "We all heal differently," Brown University President Christina Paxson stated, noting that both students will be remembered during this time of recovery. At the service, friends spoke about their experiences with the deceased students. Elena Kutla-Hickson reflected on how she learned from Cook, while Vanessa Finder remembered Umerzakov for his sense of humor and the joy he instilled in others. For a recording of the memorial, go to WQRI.com.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at the Shelter Pet. By the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund. Hi.
All right, we are back. This is WQRI 88.3 FM. WQRI, Roger Williams University Student Radio in Bristol, Rhode Island. I have a very special guest with me, Miss Sarah Price, who is a member of our team so thank you to them. Sarah did an interview earlier today with Rachel Cabral, which you're going to hear later in the show. But we're just going to hear from Sarah about her interview with Rachel and her experience. So Sarah, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yeah, the interview this morning went really great. I learned a lot of interesting things. It's a really, sorry, I'm blanking. A really informational interview, a lot of information packed into that. So I did a project on a 19th century freedom seeker, Thomas White, and they found a manuscript in not early 2024, fall semester of 2024. So she's been researching on that. She actually did an interview with the Smithsonian as well. That's a really good interview if you want to listen to that. But in my interview with Rachel, we speak more into that. Yeah, really informational, great interview. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Rachel's amazing. She is Roger Williams. She's a senior. She does amazing work with us for our Solutions Journalism Network, in addition to all of her work with history. You can find more of her research and links. I believe they're going to be on our website shortly, communitydrivennews.org, so check that out and show some support. You can also find all of our other recordings from past shows coming up on that website as well.
Yeah, and Rachel will also be at the Heart Fest in April. So that's the Humanities, Education, and the Arts Festival. It's going to be April 23rd through the 26th. So if you want to hear more about Rachel's work, you can attend that festival then. Yeah,
it's something that we are promoting here with and just Shea as a whole School of Humanities, Arts, and Education. So yeah, check that out. Like we said, April 23rd through the 26th.
Correct, but Rachel will be there just the 23rd and the 24th, but it's a whole few day long festival.
Bleeds into Spring Week, kind of pairs up with Spring Week for all of those students listening out there who know what Spring Week is. It's a great time. We do encourage coming out. So tell us a little bit more about your interview with Rachel. What was it like hearing her experience with this research and the things that she found, and not only that, but just the interview that she did with Smithsonian?
Yeah, so speaking on the interview that she did with the Smithsonian, there's a lot of great information in that. She speaks a lot about Thomas's story. So essentially the manuscript was found in the possession of somebody named Cindy Ether, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. Her husband had the manuscript. Her husband was a sailing family. So Rachel was explaining to me that they believe that Thomas was either working on the a chef or something along the lines of that. Not really quite sure how he was connected to the family, but the manuscript was found through that. And I'm sorry, I'm like blinking. The interview was really a lot of information.
It's okay. Take your time. It's a lot to take in, especially when it's something like that historically in depth and everything like that. It's a lot to process, especially just this morning.
Thomas White's wife was actually a former slave of President James Madison, and not James Madison. I truly apologize.
Another U.S. president from right around that time, which we'll talk about in the interview as well. So you'll get that information as we go through the show. But anything else that you want to mention from the interview with Rachel?
Just her speaking about how influential this was to her and how important this is, especially with February being Black History Month. She really wants Thomas's name to be a house-wide name, because his story isn't really known. This was a really big movement in the 1800s, and just having his story out there, because it was, essentially, I don't want to say forgotten, but nobody really knew who he was. And now with all of this new information coming out, and if anybody is listening and knows who Thomas White is, or if you have relations to him in any way, Rachel would love you to reach out, because she's trying to find connections to his ancestors and to his family, because there's not really a lot known, because as she'll explain in the interview, the manuscript just ends kind of abruptly. It just ends, he's abroad on a ship doing something, and then it just kind of ends, so you don't really know anything after that. If anybody knows anything about Thomas White, reach out to Rachel.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, Thomas White is a name that's not often spoken about. You hear all about people like Harriet Tubman or Frederick Douglass, or even Abraham Lincoln, who was the president at the time, abolishing slavery. But you hear about all these monumental names in the abolition of slavery, and Thomas White, unfortunately, isn't one that gets brought up. So everything I've learned was all from Rachel and her research and the amazing work that she's done. So amazing job, Rachel. And anyone really who's bringing light to these names that aren't really spoken about outside of, the main names that we hear.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, thank you very, very much for your time. We appreciate you and all that you've talked about with Rachel and everything that you do for our newscast team. So thank you for everything. All right, we are going to transition a little bit over to our data team, who did a story about child and welfare services. So as soon as I get that audio up, take a listen.
This data story focuses on child welfare and family services progress. The data was collected by Ashlyn Keating and Jacob Barber, and the story was edited by Michelle Schreiber. Child welfare in Rhode Island has been a touchy subject for many years, but there have been recent signs of progress leading in a positive direction. Recent data shows that the rate of child victimization due to mistreatment has been decreasing in Rhode Island. The data also indicates that the number of child neglect reports has gone down. There is, however, a possibility this could be related to the COVID-19 restrictions in 2022 to 2023. Children who experience repeated mistreatment also remains low, under 10%. These new rates are showing vast improvement compared to the numbers 10 years ago. Foster care placement and long-term stability are key indicators of progress in Rhode Island's child welfare and family services system. Recent data from Rhode Island Kids Count shows a shift in placement types, with the percentage of children in out-of-home care placed in relative foster homes decreasing from 35% on December 31st, 2022 to 30% on December 1st, 2023. This shift is significant and concerning because children placed in congregate care settings generally experience less stability than those placed in foster homes, particularly associated with stronger long-term outcomes for children. Rhode Island recently enacted a new plan to try to reduce out-of-home placements. This new strategy, dubbed PACE, Prevention, Accountability, Collaboration, and Engagement, aims for more positive outcomes for children and families. Despite Rhode Island being one of the smallest states in terms of population and size, it has the 10th highest removal rate in 2023 of 34.8%. This removal rate is significant because children removed have an elevated risk of attachment disorders, adverse mental and physical health, adverse childhood experiences, and a higher likelihood of developing substance use issues later in life. This work by the PACE plan to strengthen accountability and community organization collaboration could vastly improve outcomes for children. In addition to foster care placement and permanency outcomes, prevention and family support services play a critical role in strengthening Rhode Island's child welfare system. Numerous programs such as home services, substance use treatment, mental health support, and economic assistance help cover the underlying factors of welfare involvement. By supporting families before crises escalate, these services can reduce the need for out-of-home placements and improve long-term stability for children. Continued investment in prevention efforts is essential to keep children safely with their families and whenever possible. Overall, the data shows both progress and ongoing challenges within Rhode Island's child welfare system. Trends in foster care placement, permanency outcomes, and placement stability portray that while efforts have been made to improve outcomes for children and family, declines in relative foster care and continued reliance on less stable placements remain of concern. These concerns highlight the importance of strengthening family-based placements and long-term stability to ensure better outcomes for children in care. Sources for this report include Rhode Island Kids Count, DCYF, the National Coalition for Child Protection Reform, and research from the National Library of Medicine. This is Ashlyn Keating reporting for Hope Pod Live.
All right, we are back, and you were listening to 88.3 WQRI FM, Roger Williams University Student Radio here in Bristol, Rhode Island. Thank you to Ashlyn Keating for that data team story. There's a lot of really good information about the system and everything that goes into that, which is very similar to things that our Solutions Journalism Network team does, which is what we're going to hear from now. So Communities of Hope is one of the 8 newsrooms in the country selected for Solutions Journalism Network Student Media Challenge. We are investigating solutions for the mental health challenges of incarcerated youth within the foster care system. This week, they did a couple of different news stories about foster care and juvenile justice. So here is their first news story.
New proposal reignites debate over youth life without parole sentences in Rhode Island. On January 15, 2026, Democratic lawmakers led by Representative Julie Casimiro introduced a bill eliminating without parole for young offenders under the age of 21. It's time to re-examine life without parole for juvenile offenders, said North Kingston Representative Julie Casimiro. This bill was brought before the legislature just a couple of days prior to the January 19th Manton Avenue attack, where 4 juveniles between the ages of 11 and 12 were accused of beating Alfonso, a 51-year-old man, to death. These juveniles are potentially being charged with murder, and the decision rests in the hands of the judge to determine whether or not they will be waived into adult court and ultimately tried as adults. This bill focuses on youth offenders who receive harsher sentences due to the nature of their crimes, such as murders involving torture or attacks on law enforcement personnel. This bill pertains to those individuals who committed murder with one of these 7 aggravating factors: prior conviction of serious offense, heinous, cruel or depraved manner, substantial planning and premeditation, grave risk of death to additional persons, vulnerability of the victim, economic gain murder for hire, or leadership role in a large-scale crime. However, the Manton Avenue attack did not include one of the 7 aggressors. Therefore, this bill does not apply to those offenders. It is still unclear whether Mario's Law would apply in all situations under this new legislation, no matter the circumstances. Austin Dana, NBC Legal Analysis states, "I think regardless of what happens with this legislation and whether or not they are certified up to Superior Court, Mario's Law would kick in for them." The Democratic lawmaker who introduced this bill eliminating youth life without parole sentences in Rhode Island was also involved in Mario's Law back in 2021. Representative Julie Casimiro the bill in comparison to the previous law. "This is completely separate because Mario's Law excluded life without parole," says Representative Julie Casimiro. Mario's Law also known as the Youthful Offender Act, proposed that any person convicted of an offense committed before their 22nd birthday, except those serving life without parole, are eligible for parole review after already serving 20 years. This comes as a direct result of the case of Mario Montero, who was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences at the age of 17, of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, or crime of violence resulting in death, and related assault charges for a 2001 gang-related shooting in Providence, Rhode Island. Upon serving 20 years, Montero was up for parole in 2021 and was unanimously granted such. However, the process was delayed by the Department of Corrections, which chose to examine the life sentences separately. Mario's experiences while serving his sentence motivated him. He said that seeing these conditions made him want to help change how the system treats people and to support others in becoming a better version of themselves when they return to the community. Mario's law allows for those who were convicted and sentenced to life prior to their 22nd birthday a second chance. This does not apply to life convictions without the possibility of parole, and also touches upon the issue of dual sentencing. However, this new legislation aims to bridge that gap in the system. Similar to Mario's law, the bill would recognize that young people have developing brains and a greater capacity for rehabilitation. In creating Mario's law, lawmakers cited psychological and neuroscientific research showing that impulse control and decision-making continue to mature in the mid-20s. The law was designed to give individuals sentenced at a young age parole review. This new legislation aims to provide all young offenders a second chance to rebuild and reflect, knowing a chance for parole is possible.
Reporter Tamara Sakarzik investigated how Rhode Island is spending millions of dollars to send foster care youth out of state and how it can take a heavy toll on the child and their family. Data collected during the investigation from the Rhode Island Department of Children, Youth, and Families reported that over 70 children that are currently in foster care are placed in residential facilities miles away from their families. This is about 6% of children that are in out-of-home placements. Alongside this, those out-of-state placements cost Rhode Island almost $23 million in 2024, which is a 19% increase from 2020. Sakarzik's reporting uncovered that the shortage of juvenile facilities and the decrease in licensed foster care families in the state has contributed to these out-of-state placements. Even though there are fewer children entering the system than before, the number of licensed foster care families in the state has dropped 20% since 2022. Lastly, she highlighted that there have been changes within the system to hopefully counteract Rhode Island's overall foster care population, such as programs that provide the family with support early on in the process. More of this at turnto10.com. According to state officials who spoke with News of the United States, at least 32 children across 7 states have entered foster care in the past year after their parents were detained or deported. Cases have been reported in Vermont, Kansas, Maryland, Idaho, Virginia, Minnesota, and Oregon, though incomplete data collection means that the true number is likely higher. With a record of 71,000 immigrants currently in detention, advocates say that family separations linked to internal immigration enforcement are increasing but remain largely invisible. Federal and state agencies do not consistently track when a child enters foster care due to a parent's detention, and experts warn that existing data likely undercounts the problem. For Children and Families reported 162 such cases nationwide between October of 2023 and September of 2024, though only about half of states are fully reporting under the newer tracking requirement. Advocates highlight growing tension between protecting children's privacy and ensuring they can access services and reunification support. Some also fear that tracking data could be misused for enforcement purposes. Meanwhile, ICE maintains that it does not separate families and says that parents are given the option to make care arrangements for their children. More than 6 million children nationwide live with at least one undocumented parent, underscoring the potential scale of impact as immigration enforcement intensifies. More of this at VT Digger.
All right, we are back. You are listening to 88.3 FM WQRI, Roger Williams University Student Radio, right here in Bristol, Rhode Island. Thank you to our Solutions Journalism Network team for their amazing news stories. They always put so much work into the stuff that they produce, much like the rest of our Communities of Hope team, so thank you to them. The Hawks Herald is Rogers' news outlet with their latest edition of the paper coming to newsstands around campus very soon. You can also check them out online at thehawksherald.com or follow them on Instagram at thehawksherald. Do you enjoy writing or reporting, or are you just interested in learning more? Then come join the Capsize Tribune. The Capsize Tribune is a completely student-run group that dives deeper into the stories being told on campus. We write on a variety of different topics such as campus updates, investigative pieces, student senate updates, and so much more. We also explore off-campus issues as well, so we're not just limited to our little tiny campus right here in Bristol. We pride ourselves on letting our members write about stories that interest them and allowing them to explore deeper into those topics. Maybe there was something that was taught within a course that you want to learn more about. Well, this is your perfect opportunity. We encourage our members to use the resources already available to them to investigate further on topics of interest. You can gain writing, editing, and interviewing skills all while working with us. The limits are endless to what you can achieve with the Capsized. If more on Instagram at Capsize Tribune, our YouTube at the Capsize Tribune, or check out our website at capsize.rw.me for our most recent stories. You can also attend our weekly meetings in GHH 103, also known as the Newsroom, on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. You can meet our team, see what we do, and ask any questions you may have. We hope to see you there. Now, we have a story from the sports team, which I am a part of. Something very exciting is coming to RWU thanks to help of Vice President for Student Life, Dr. John King. Athletics will be welcoming a women's hockey team with the rise of popularity in the leagues like the PWHL and WNBA. This is huge for RWU athletics. Last week, I sat down with RWU Athletic Director Kiki Jacobs and the coach of our new team, Laura Arodin, about how the new team started and what they're most excited about when the team gets started. What Kiki Jacobs had to say about the new team and the immense value that the coach brings to the inaugural program.
You know, the making of history is a big deal to many. So I think that's where she's going to have some success. And it's tough being a first year program. I mean, you take your lumps and you know, you're normally not as competitive as a well-established team, but you know, they'll get better year to year. It'll get better, and they'll get, you know, they'll go through some growing pains, but it'll be good in the end, and they'll see after 4 years, it's like, this is what we did, and you know, one good thing about Laura is she was the first in her team at her college to, you know, play, so she knows what it is like to have as a startup athlete.
I also took some time and spoke with the new coach. She is amazing. She cares so much about this team and everything that they're trying to accomplish. So here is that interview now. My first question is, how involved were you in the addition you brought in, like after the team was kind of a thing?
Well, so John King, our VP, right, he was the kind of, I think, the mastermind around starting hockey here, but I'm the one who's brought in, like, the entire team of players that are coming in for the next season. So I technically got hired August 1st, but I accepted the job back in May. So I was recruiting all summer. So at that point, whenever August and, like, school had kind of started, I think I had, like, 15 or 16 players committed already at that point. So I've been the one that's responsible for, like, actually getting the girls to come to campus and things like that. But John King, he was kind of the one who initiated bringing hockey to Roger Williams.
hockey background do you have? Were you a player? Is it like just a love for the game? Like, what's kind of your background in the sport?
So, I mean, I've been playing hockey since I was 3, so I played all the way up through college as well. I went to SUNY Canton. I played hockey and lacrosse there. And then this is now my 8th year coaching college hockey. So I've been pretty fortunate to work at some pretty competitive universities, so it's kind of nice from scratch too, and kind of building it the way that I want to. And it was actually something that I also did as a player. So whenever I was in college, I was a part of an inaugural program, so everything that like the girls are about to go through the next 4 years, like I've already seen it all, like I've already done it all, so anything that can go wrong, at least hopefully I have some sort of experience with it. But yeah, I've played hockey my entire life. My dad worked in rinks growing up, and so he currently works for the NHL in Vegas, so yeah, big hockey family.
Very cool, very cool. I love that. So what made you choose Roger Williams to coach at, like, you know, when looking for a team to work with?
I think kind of what I just mentioned about like starting an inaugural program and really having my hands in building like the cultures and the traditions and the things that are going to be long lasting past even my tenure here was something that really intrigued me, especially having done it as a player. Obviously, I think when you come to campus, like you'd be kind of stupid not to want to hang out here all the time. Like I always kind of compare it to like Cape Cod, but without the hustle and bustle of Cape Cod. Like obviously campus is stunning. And then honestly, like my coworkers, whenever I was coming through the interview, like everybody was super easy to talk to, very welcoming, and so it just seemed like the right fit for me. And then growing up, I'm from Houston, Texas, so I grew up by the water. I'm a water baby, so hello, yeah. Very, very obvious that I wanted to be somewhere where I could be by the water, and kind of be here for a while and like actually like create roots for myself and like have a life outside of just being a coach is something that I feel like I can see myself doing here, which is nice.
What are you most looking forward to when this season starts like, officially?
I'm sitting back this past year, I have a lot of FOMO of like all of my other coaching friends being on the ice and actually having a season, but I think I'm really excited for all just like the little first, like our first goal, our first win, things like that I know the girls are going to be really, really hype and excited about, because obviously it kind of takes a leap of faith for them to jump into something that they don't know what the expectations are, and it's not like they can look up and see like how our team's done in the past. So seeing them, I think, get to celebrate those like first moments is something that I'm really looking forward to. And I'm also incredibly competitive, and I would say maybe a little bit of a sore loser at times. So wanting to be competitive right out the gate, hopefully, you know, see the NCAA tournament within the first 4 years of the program. Like, frankly, that's my goal. So looking forward to like building that up and like seeing us actually get there. It's exciting.
Yeah, I feel like hockey, like you have to be competitive. Like you can't just be like very passive. Like
Correct.
You got to be aggressive with it. So
Correct,
that's a great thing.
That's yeah, I would say my friends would probably call me that, like in my personal life as well. So yeah, no, it fits.
We're also in the first season of our varsity's men's hockey team. What interaction have you had with them, with Coach Hall, like anything like that? Have you spoken with them at all?
Halsey and I are pretty close. We work really intimately, like well together. I've actually been on the bench with them this season, so and I've been on the ice with them for practices as well. So I mean, I know all the guys at this point like pretty well. Like walking here, I saw a couple of them, and they, you know, yell at me from across campus. So it's fun to kind of have that close-knit relationship, considering we're both going through the same things, right, of building this program on both the men's and the women's side. So I don't want to say that obviously super grateful that the men have kind of been like the guinea pigs of this all first, because they are starting this year as opposed to next year with us. But working with Halsey's been great. Like, again, we work really well together. And the guys are awesome, and they're all super excited. Like, they ask me every time I see them, like, how many girls do you have? Like, what's going on? How are you? How's the team looking? Things like that. So it's nice to see that, like, they're also excited about bringing in, like, their female counterparts to this. So, yeah.
So women's sports is increasingly becoming more popular thanks to, like, people like Caitlin Clark, Serena Williams, Simone Biles, so many others, and, of course, the PWHL.
Yeah.
What does it mean for you to have, like, an addition like this at a school like Roger? Like, we're D3 sports, so not super big, but what does it mean for you?
I mean, obviously, it's incredible. I think the more that you can grow the game, like, I know, of course, had there been the PWHL whenever I was growing up, I probably would have tried a little harder. I don't know, but it is really nice to see, I think, like, kind of women's sports starting to get the recognition that I think they deserve. Of course, there's a long way to go on an equality standpoint of just media coverage, of pay, of all the things across the board, right? But it is nice to see that they're starting to become some sort of like legitimacy behind women's sports, and people like Caitlin Clark are obviously like paving the way. Females are excited to go watch her play, but males are excited to go see Caitlin Clark play as well. So it's really cool to see that. I think that obviously, at any level, right? Women's sports in general is just growing. So, of course, on the hockey front, maybe a little biased whenever I say this, but really nice to see that across the board, across the United States, there's more like women's programs popping up, girls programs and youth hockey, things like that. So, I think it's incredible. And again, whenever I was growing up playing, like, there was no teams in Texas for me to play for. So, like, I was traveling to St. Louis every weekend to go play on a team because there was no options for girls hockey in Texas. Now there's multiple teams there. So even in the South and in states where maybe it's not as popular, it's nice to see that there's growth. So
so anything else that you want to add, like, about yourself, like a little fun fact, or like anything you're excited about the team, like anything else that you want to add?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think it's gonna be fun to kind of see a bigger group of first year college students come together, because the majority of the team that's coming in is first years. So right now we have 26 girls committed. 23 of those will be first years. So a lot of fun personalities coming in, a lot of fun young energy, which I think is going to be really, really exciting to see it all translate onto the ice. I don't know if I was necessarily anticipating it being that many first years, but honestly, like, there's not a single one of them that I would trade for the world at this point, because their personalities, I think, are going to be a really nice, like, combination. So excited for everybody here to start to get to know them whenever they're on campus in the fall, get to see them on the ice, and
Are they all like fresh out of high school, like graduating seniors, like coming in, or are they like transfers, anything like that? A little bit of both.
So right now, I'm not looking at any transfers just because all the college seasons are still happening. So once the seasons end, potentially, but they would have to be, obviously, I think, the right fit with just being at 26 already, because in the NCAA, you can only dress 22. Okay. So, and that's 19 skaters and 3 goalies. Yeah. So depending on what I really want the makeup of the team to look like, maybe, but like I said, it has to kind of be the right fit. So there's actually 3 girls that are already on campus who are going to be joining the team in the fall. Lexi Yost, she's a junior. She's also on field hockey. Sarah Mancy is a sophomore, and then Kelly McKenna is a first year right now, and she also plays softball as well. So we'll have the 3 of them, so it's nice to kind of have a little bit of like leadership of like, hey, they know how to get to classes, and they know, where the dining hall is, things like that, because there's going to be 23 bright-eyed, bushy-tailed first years looking at the 3 of them and being like, help us. So it is nice that we have those 3 already here and know the leading. It'll be nice to kind of hopefully see those 3 like kind of step up and take a natural like leadership role just with having 23 first years coming, which is quite a bit. But yeah, it's exciting. It's fun. So.
All right, we are back. This is WQRI 88.3 FM, Roger Williams University Student Radio, right here in Bristol, Rhode Island. Thank you to both Kiki, Jacobs, and Laura for taking the time to talk with me about the new team coming. I'm so excited to see everything that they do. And on the note of hockey, we have a men's varsity game tonight at Driscoll Arena in Fall River. It's a really big game for them. I will be there for the Capsized Tribune, which I mentioned earlier. So come out, show some support to the team, and also come say hi. I'll be there with Capsized. And speaking of, we still have the lovely Miss Sarah Price here, who, like I mentioned before, is on our newscast team. She is also the social media and website manager for the Capsized. So Sarah, hi.
Hi again, everyone. I'm just here keeping Alex company, so she's not all alone.
I appreciate you. We have some listeners that we're going to shout out. First, Miss Brenna Madeira tonight, so shout out to Brenna. Brenna's amazing. My hockey girly. Love her. And then we also have another shout out.
Addie, the love of my life. I love her so much. She's listening right now. She's also a part of Communities of Hope. She is head of the immigration team, correct?
She is, yes.
Yes, so she writes for the immigration team, and she's also part of the Capsize Tribune. Shout out our newly appointed president.
Yay! We have a new president, Addie. We are so excited for you. We're so excited for everything that you have planned for us at Capsized. You're amazing. We love you. We love you very much. So shout out to Addie, who's listening right now. Yeah, so anything you want to talk about, Sarah? We have about 10 minutes before we wrap up.
Well, I mean, just another win for Capsized. We have 4 brand new members in the last, week and a half,
Yes.
which is huge.
Oh, amazing.
For those of you who don't know, Capsized was started fall of 2024.
Yeah, last fall.
And since fall of 2024, it has just been about 6 people, all just 4 new members. And most of them aren't even journalism. We have somebody that's a poli-sci major, architecture major, biology. Davy's not listening right now, but shout out to Davy. She's our a new journalism recruit.
Yes.
So another journalism person, but just big wins for Capsized. And like Alex said earlier in the little promo, please come if you would like. Tuesdays, 5 o'clock, GHH 103. We'd love to have you there, even if you've never written or done anything in that kind of quality, correct word is. We'd just love to have you.
Yeah, like Sarah mentioned, we have like non-journalism students. Like you don't have to be a journalist to be a member of Capsized. Any sort of skills that you have, like we want those. Like come join us, like come hang out with us. It's a really good time. We have so much fun. Like not to be like, all mushy and everything, but like I met my friends through Capsized, like and Communities of Hope as well. So shout out to Communities of Hope.
Yes.
Check out our website, communitydrivennews.org. Shameless plug.
We're just all one big family.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good time. So Capsized is amazing. Communities of Hope is amazing. And for both of those, like I said, you don't have to be a journalist. You just don't have to be. We take anybody and everybody who wants to be with us. So it's a great time.
What else new has happened recently? The Super Bowl. Thoughts? I mean, I don't really, I'm not a big sports person. I only watched it for the halftime show. So
I feel like that's what most people do. Like if you're not a sports fan, you still watch the Super Bowl like just for the halftime show.
Yeah, that's the only time you'll catch me watching football all season.
Yeah. R.I.P. to the Patriots fans who are like diehards, and the Patriots got embarrassed. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, Bad Bunny was cool.
I loved it.
Yeah. I don't understand Spanish. I wish I did. But I mean, the vibes were just like so cool. And like that wedding, which was real, by the way.
I know.
So cool.
I don't think I could get married at the Super Bowl. I don't want to. Okay. If one day when I get married, okay, I don't think I could do a big wedding.
No.
I just like small and intimate, like friends and family.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah. But I mean, that is cool.
Right? Like at a Bad Bunny concert, like at the Super Bowl, like it's like all the people watching that's like scary, like nobody watching you get married, but also like millions and millions of people like at home on their TV are like watching you get married, which that's amazing. Like that's so cool. So shout out to them. Not for me though. Not my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally am a baseball fan, so now that football is over, it's baseball time. We're in spring training. I'm so excited. So that's my highlight of the season in this snowy weather that we're still looking at. It's not that cold, but
no. What was it? Monday? It was Monday or Tuesday. It was like 40 something degrees
like
outside.
45 degrees.
And it felt like it was just like so hot. I didn't wear a coat. Probably will regret that. But who knows?
Yeah. After days of being 2 degrees and then it's like suddenly 45. It's like, oh my God, I don't need my jacket anymore. Just the sweatshirt's good.
Yeah.
So
I really just want spring to come. I don't mind.
I'm sick of looking at it. I can't. Yeah, I need warm weather. Yeah, it's just this cold is not for me. I'm not loving it anymore.
Yeah. What else is going on? Anything new in your life? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, just this really. Been working and getting some stuff done for Communities of Hope, that we have some exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. So stay tuned for that, both on our social medias and our website. Yeah, that's really it. Any plans for Valentine's Day tomorrow?
Yeah, my girlfriend and I are gonna go to IHOP.
Love it. Emma's amazing. Emma's so sweet.
Shout out to my girlfriend Emma. She's not listening right now. She's probably in class. Emma doesn't go here.
She should be listening, honestly.
She should be listening.
Really honest.
She listens after the fact. I make her listen to the website recordings.
Good.
I mean, she's practically here all the time. She's a member of COH without being a member of COH.
Exactly. Honorary member.
Honorary
We still acknowledge
member,
her.
yes. Yeah, so we're going to go to IHOP and just hang out at the dorm, I guess.
Nice.
Not
Good
really
time.
big plans. I'm just really tired. I need to relax this weekend.
Honestly, that's so real, because it's just, it's been a long semester. I know it's only like less than a month in, but
It feels like I've been here for 20 years.
Yeah. It feels like it's been a lot longer. I thought that was just me, but I guess not. Yeah. But yeah, we are just about out of time, so we're gonna play some music while we wait for Miss Alana to come in. She'll be joining us just in a few minutes when she gets out of class. So thank you to all of our teams who had stuff played the first half of the show. We appreciate you. Sarah, we appreciate you for being here, keeping me company, talking about your interview with Rachel, and then just talking about Capsized and your life with me.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm glad. All right, we're going to play some music for a few minutes while we wait for Alana. Stay tuned. We will be back shortly.
from misery to happiness to thee. I'm on my way from misery to happiness to thee. I'm on my way to what I want from this world. And years from now, you'll make it to the next world. And everything that you receive up yonder is what you give to me the day I wonder. I took a right turning yesterday. Yeah, I took a right turning yesterday. I took the road that brought me to your hometown. I saw streets that I could walk down. I walked the streets to find the one I looked for. I climbed the stair that led me to your front door. And now that I don't want for anything, I have all Jolson saying I'm sitting on top of the world. I'll do my best to do the best I can. Yeah, I'll do my best I can. To keep my feet from jumping from the ground, dear. To keep my heart from jumping through my mouth, dear. To keep the past and not the present. To try and learn when you teach me a lesson. I know that I don't want for anything. I'd have all Jolson saying I'm sitting on top of the world. I'm on my way from misery to happy. Yeah, I'm on my way from misery to happiness today. I'm on my way to what I want from this world. And years from now, you'll make it to the next world. And everything that you receive up yonder is what you give to me the day I wonder. I'm on my way to what I want from this world. And years from now, you'll make it to the next world. And everything that you receive up yonder is what you gave to me the day I wonder. I'm on my way. 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 I'm on my way.
All right, we are back, and this is WQRI FM 88.3, Roger Williams University Student Radio, right here in Bristol, Rhode Island, and this is Hope Pod Live. Our other host, Alana. Hi, Alana, welcome.
Thank you, Alex. Hello, hello, hello.
How's your day so far? Having a good day?
It's good. I had my one class today, and I'm just chilling.
Nice, calm Friday the 13th. So hopefully everything's been okay for everybody out there listening.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick listen to our news, and we'll be right back.
I'm Brianna Fasora,
And I'm Michaela Gain.
and this is Hope Pod News. Rhode Island Director of Transportation Peter Alviti steps down. After 11 years as director of RIDOT, Peter Alviti, whose career is headlined with the closure of the Washington Bridge in December 2023, is retiring on February 27th after Governor Dan McKee accepted his letter of resignation. In this letter, Alviti said Rhode Island met its goal of having less than 10% deficient bridges. But a recent WQRI Target 12 investigation found RIDOT removing quarterly progress reports to state lawmakers, which allowed the agency to claim it met its goal of having 90% of the state's bridges in good condition. Alviti promises that his resignation is not related to the Washington Bridge and he wasn't fired or asked to resign. A statement provided from RIDOT at a request reads, "When Peter Alviti was appointed in 2015, Rhode Island had the worst roads and bridges in the country. drawing from the skill set he obtained from his formal education at Roger Williams University and from his long career as an engineer. He made a comprehensive assessment of the state's transportation assets and created Rhode Island's first 10-year transportation plan that would reduce our percentage of failing bridges to 10% in 10 years and reform our transportation systems to meet our future needs. Over the last 10 years, we have repaired or rehabilitated 352 bridges, and we are on track to reach 10% bridge efficiency this year. Mr. Rocio intends to continue to implement RIDOT priorities into the 10-year plan.
In the months following the December 2025 Barris and Hawley building, officials say their focus has been on strengthening campus safety while supporting community healing. Hugh Clements, interim vice president for the public safety and chief of police at Brown University, emphasizes that the goal is not to create a campus defined by fear, but one defined by preparedness, vigilance, and mutual care. Since the incident, Brown has begun transitioning buildings that still use traditional keys to a card access system. The university is also expanding its blue light emergency phone system across campus, including the addition of cameras. In part from Tino, Brown is completing an after-action review to evaluate safety policies and procedures. And other measures include improving good coordination with legal agencies and regional mental health resources, enhancing public safety training and staffing. The university has also launched Brown Ever True, a campus-wide roadmap to recovery led by Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, Matthew Gutierrez. The initiative focuses on long-term healing efforts, including resilience, workshops, small group discussions, expanded mental health efforts, memorializing victims. Brown University officials urged anyone with questions about campus safety or recovery efforts to visit the university's website, where detailed updates, frequently asked questions, and support resources are available.
Rhode Island lawmakers are backing legislation requiring middle and high school ID cards to include the phone numbers for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration Helpline, giving students and staff quick access to crisis support as youth mental health challenges continue to rise. In a press release from the Rhode Island General Assembly, State Senator Victoria Gu and Representative Earl Reed III said they introduced the bill to help prevent suicides and substance abuse-related emergencies. "We want to put help at their fingertips," Gu said, noting the hotlines are anonymous and available 24 hours a day. Reed, a former Warwick police officer, added that early access to these services could save lives. The proposal comes as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention among people ages 10 to 24 increased by more than 50% between 2007 and 2021, and as other states consider similar measures.
The tiniest patients at Women and Infants Hospital in Providence celebrated a big milestone recently, their first Valentine's Day. According to the hospital officials, the littlest patients in the neonatal intensive care unit were dressed up in festive outfits made by volunteers with the nonprofit group project called Sweet Peas. These outfits were specifically made to fit around the medical equipment on each baby. Valentine have been capturing hearts and continue to be supported by Project Sweet Pea's mission to support families of premature and sick infants due to their difficult times. To find out more about this project, go to projectsweetpeas.com.
Brown University hosted a private memorial for the victims of the fatal December shooting. A source within the school reported that the service, which included remarks by students, friends, and campus leaders, was restricted to those with a valid university ID. "We all heal differently," Brown University President Christina Paxson stated, noting that both students will be remembered during this time of recovery. At the service, friends spoke about their experiences with the deceased students. Alina Kutla-Hickson reflected on how she was able to live out her faith through what she learned from Cook, while Vanessa Finder remembered Umerzakov for his sense of humor and the joy he instilled in others. For a recording of the memorial, go to WQRI.com.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with My Shelter Pets. When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
All right, thank you again to our news team. This is Alex and
Alana
with WQRI 88.3 FM, Roger Williams University Student Radio in Bristol, Rhode Island.
The first story for this part of our show is an interview with PFLAG from our Queer Currents team, which is formerly known as Queer Onyx.
This is their first episode of the new season, I guess you could say, which is the spring semester. So give us just 1 second while we get up that audio and we will be good to go. Maybe, if I could find it. It's somewhere here. There we go. Maybe, if it plays. Technical difficulties.
Whether you, your friend, a family member, a coworker, or a stranger is queer, there is one common ground amongst all of them. They need support. Being an ally can be shown in different ways, and it's important for allies to be educated on what the term really means to them. One of the simplest and most important ways to show support is to always use the name and pronouns that people want you to use, because doing so is proven to have significant effects on mental well-being. According to the Trevor Project, based on a study of 107 people, 47% of transgender and non-binary people report that family and community members respect their name and pronouns, leaving many without the basic courtesy of being called by their name. If you make a mistake, apologize, say the pronoun you meant to say, and move on without dwelling on said mistake. It is also important to never out trans individuals. LGBTQ+ individuals discover themselves and come out to everyone on their own terms is extremely valuable and crucial. When it comes to supporting your friends and family, the most important thing to do is make it clear that you are there for them. Well, how can you do this? You can show your support by creating a social setting that includes your straight, cisgender, and queer friends. More research from the Trevor Project shows that supportive social environments significantly reduce feelings of isolation in LGBTQ+ individuals who are often at risk for mental health issues when rejected or misunderstood. Having an open and inclusive social setting gives LGBTQ+ people a safe space to always have when needed. Including partners and activities, watching movies or shows together that involve LGBTQ+ topics or characters, and making attending a Pride event a group activity are all ways to continue creating that inclusive space. Studies, also from the Trevor Project, youth with affirming support from family and friends are far less likely to experience suicidal thoughts or attempts. This shows that support literally saves lives. Alongside this, finding ways to comfortably talk about LGBTQ+ news and also attending events with those in the LGBTQ+ community opens a door for conversation. Public polling has found that most Americans say there is little support specifically for trans people, which highlights the importance of allies speaking up and making themselves known. Them magazine explains how queer news helps people engage with current issues as well. Mentioning queer news and other LGBTQ+ friends in a positive way and finding ways to openly talk about your issues your queer friends may be facing with cis friends helps normalize these conversations. Talking about the queer community in general with the positives and negatives that they need in any situation, good or bad. Using inclusive language in regular conversations also helps reinforce support in everyday settings. When it comes to coworkers or an educational setting, using inclusive language is extremely important. For example, nearly 3/4 of LGBTQ+ employees say that the use of appropriate pronouns, such as including pronouns in their email signature, signals that the workplace is inclusive. Also, will help create a more comfortable environment for others to share theirs, as well as putting your pronouns in your email signature. If you hear an anti-LGBTQ+ joke, speaking up and explaining why the comments or jokes are harmful and offensive is another way to be supportive. Active allies in the workplace have been shown to help reduce feelings of isolation. Without it, LGBTQ+ employees may report feeling like the only one in the room or needing to hide parts of their lives. With this, you can add supportive symbols to your office, vehicle, or home. You can add things such as an ally button or a sticker on your name badge, or a bump. Again, it's important to always use the name and pronouns people ask you to use and to never out a trans individual. The next question you may have is, how can I get more involved? Some of the easier ways to start getting more involved is to post a message online, supporting an LGBTQ+ issue, or to read a publication to learn more about the queer community. Additionally, reaching out to support groups, whether physical, through social media, or other networking sources, or contacting government officials about LGBTQ are involved. Visiting the PFLAG website, which is used to connect allies and families with the queer community, is another way to continue learning and staying connected. PFLAG is one of the largest organizations dedicated to family support, ally education, and advocacy, with hundreds of chapters and hundreds of thousands of supporters across the United States. One of the biggest parts of being an ally is to learn what an ally actually means. Understand that ally is a verb, because actions are louder than words, and you can't persuade someone that you are an ally simply by your words. Actions like showing up consistently, educating yourself, and correcting harm when you see it matter far more than simply saying you're supportive. Being there, being supportive, and using your actions, like standing up for LGBTQ+ issues when no queer individuals are watching, is what allyship looks like. There is no single correct way to be an ally. Allyship exists on the spectrum, and being actively supportive, visible, vocal, and willing to learn is truly what defines it. It may not seem like an ally help LGBTQ plus people in the long run. 67% of young LGBTQ plus individuals report having symptoms of mental health issues like depression and anxiety. 40% of the young LGBTQ plus people wanted mental health care but did not receive it. The highest reason for not receiving care is because they were afraid to talk about their mental health. Being an ally means being there for the LGBTQ plus and supporting them, no matter how small, can do amazing things to help others. Next, we will hear from Ron and Sandra Richard, who work with the nonprofit organization PFLAG out of Greater Providence, and how they would define what an ally means on a greater scale. So, to begin with, that you'd like about yourself for the record, name, pronouns, anything?
Well, my name's Ron, last name's Richard, and this is my wife, Sandra.
Sandy.
And I'm the president of PFLAG Greater Providence, and Sandra is our media coordinator, past president as well.
Right.
And we've been with PFLAG since 2010, when our daughter came out as trans, and that's what brought us to PFLAG, and we've been involved since then in various positions, and this is where we currently are.
I love that. And then for the record, would you mind explaining what PFLAG is as a whole? And I think you kind of mentioned your role in there a little bit, but just kind of going a little bit beyond just the title, what your role entails.
Do you want me to do that?
Right, I'll let Kelly speak.
Yeah, PFLAG is a national nonprofit organization, primarily run all across the country. Only really primarily the national headquarters staff has paid staff, and a couple of the organizations in major cities like New York and maybe Boston and LA and such. We started around 1972, I think, when a mom, Jean Manford, walked in what was then called the Christopher Street Parade, asking moms and dads to support their gay and lesbian sons and daughters. And a couple of years after that, they formed the first PFLAG support group in New York City, and it grew from there. So we've got over, I think, 400 chapters all around the country, and as I mentioned, they're almost run entirely by volunteers, moms and dads and allies and members of the community who get together and help provide support to other families and members of the community who are, struggling and trying to figure out how to support their kids who've come out, or how to talk to their parents about, coming out and things like that. So we've been going on since then. In Rhode Island, we've been since 1998. So going on 20.
Wow.
27 years,
27,
thereabouts.
27 years,
Give or take.
28 years. Our chapter was started by Myra Shays, who came to us from New York City, she got involved when her daughter came out, and she ran the chapter for around 15 years. But he ran it for about a year, and then we kind of stepped in and have been running it ever since.
Nice.
So, yeah, we have 3 monthly meetings, one on Zoom, which we've got one tonight, and 2 in-person meetings, one in Providence, and we have a satellite group that meets in Newport.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's really cool.
Mhm.
And kind of branching off from that, in your opinion, what does it mean to be an ally as a whole? Like on its own, what does an ally mean to you guys?
Well, it's one who is supportive of the LGBTQ community. They don't necessarily have to be advocating, but just being a person who, like I said, is being supportive. An ally could be a parent, it could be a grandparent, it could be a friend, it could be a spouse. And so that there's no one way that you would necessarily describe it outside of being supportive of a person and or actually the LGBT in general.
Yeah. And that kind of also branching off of that question, how can allies support queer individuals? Like I know you said it doesn't have to necessarily be public, but like maybe behind closed doors, if you will, how can they be supportive?
I think just being there for people when they need to talk with with someone about what's going on in their life and being supportive and not being judgmental in any way, and not trying to tell what not to do, but just to let people know that they're a safe person, a safe place for them to come to when they need someone to talk to, or some other type of support.
Yeah, awesome. And then, what, to your knowledge, what resources are out there for allies to understand LGBTQ individuals better? And does PFLAG have anything resource-wise?
Yes, do you want me to?
Right,
Okay. We have our chapter has on our website, we have a whole resource section with a lot of handouts. Some of them come from PFLAG National. Some of them are from other LGBTQ type organizations or other national organizations that also support the community. And, vetted type of material so that it's correct information. It's not slanted in any way, where people can find literature. And also there are contacts for like the different suicide hotlines and things like that that people can call. PFLAG National has a whole and educational material that people can go to, as well as even support meetings that are available nationwide over Zoom for specific communities, such as the Latino community. There might be one for Asian community. I can't remember what all of them, that where locally you may not have enough people to be able to have a group like that, but nationally they can have a support meeting online for those specific communities. So
Yeah. One of the things we've tried to do as our chapter is try to reach out to the community and what we would call extend our footprint, rather than just we're PFLAG Greater Providence, but we serve the we have board members that are all over the state, which allows us to connect with those separate communities. And just particularly during the month of June, where all the Pride Fest events are going on, you'll see us all over the state with our informational table that we'll have out there for the general public. So you'll see us from Woonsocket to Westerly to Providence to even as far as forth and so forth. So our personal philosophy, if you invite us, we'll show up as we are with you today, and allow us to to be out there so people are aware that there's an organization that's there, for the LGBTQ plus community if they need our support or anything else that might need from us. A lot of our educational material that we hand out they'll go to educators who will bring them to their schools. Guidance counselors will pick that stuff up and have it available. Social workers. Kids will bring them for their need, or their parents that might help educate them. So we try to touch a lot of areas along that way. And it's one of our goals that it's part of educating the community. And therefore, the more we can educate, the more people know about what's going on, and the more support we can give to the LGBTQ community.
Wow, that's awesome. That's all of that is just so, I want to point out, you guys are doing great things. That is awesome. That is so awesome. I know I've said that like 5 times, but I do mean it. You guys are doing awesome things. Like,
Thank you.
I know I appreciate it. So I'm sure so many other people do as well. And then is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like to add about allies as a whole, or anything, PFLAG, anything?
Well, it's just an aspect of, again, as Sandy said, just being there from that standpoint, and particularly listening to either your child, your friend, your in some instances your spouse. It's amazing how well grandparents, when they're perceived probably not to be accepting, are totally accepting, and it's nice thing to see. But I mean,
Right.
just
We've even extended providing education and maybe even advocacy for older LGBTQ people as well. And we've tabled at some places, and we've had people come up who may not be as supportive. And one of Ron's questions back to those people generally is, well, why do you feel that way? And then you get a conversation going and help educate people. And sometimes you end up maybe not completely changing their mind, but giving they have a better understanding of why maybe their grandkid or their adult child has come out or whatever, and how to better support them. So we've been able to do that a lot and advocate at the State House as well when legislation is pending, when we can get there. We don't always know about it right away, but we try to be aware of what's going on in the state and going to those kinds of events as well.
Yeah. We've worked with partners with senior living facilities, where facility is trying to be more inclusive, more welcoming, and we've worked with them in training and both in the staff and speaking with the residents, because a lot of times someone who's a member of the LGBTQ community and they're retired, they're going on, they need assisted living, and sometimes they're forced to go back into the closet because the environment that they may be exposed to is not friendly, either via staff or fellow residents. And that's a difficult situation for them. And so we've worked with, like I said, some retirement communities to try to change behavior.
Right. And in some cases, they may be a parent of someone who has come out, and they're don't talk about it because they're afraid the kind of reaction they're going to get from their fellow residents if somebody comes in to visit. So it's the whole, again, it's like being there and letting them tell their story.
Yeah.
And I always feel like the more that that members of the community and allies can tell their stories of their experiences, the more accepting the rest of the world can become.
Of course, yeah. Anything else you want to add too?
No, I think that kind of covers that part of the topic, I would think.
Yeah, we have meetings 3 times a month.
Yeah.
First Wednesday of the month is our Zoom meeting. The second Monday is the Newport meeting at Channing Church, and we meet at the Met School in person. So, and we have the dates up on our website. People want to find out of when we meet, they can do that.
Thank you, Ron and Sandra, for your important insight and great work that you are doing for the LGBTQ plus community. Until next time on Queer Currents, stay informed and stay proud.
All right. Thank you very much to Ron and Sandra of PFLAG, as well as Kate Tortellini, our Queer Currents team lead. Thank you so much to all of them for all of the work that they did and the advocacy that they do every single day for the LGBTQ community. So now we have a really quick interview with our data team lead, Ashlyn Keating, which we had mentioned earlier in the show, about her wonderful team of things that they have coming up this semester. Take a listen.
Okay, cool. I'm here with Ashlyn Keating, who is the leader for the data reporting team and is also a part of our tech dev team. So Ashlyn, you and your team created a chatbot last semester. What updates do you have to share about the chatbot and how it's working now?
Currently, the chatbot is working pretty well. It grabs information and data from the database that we created last semester. We are looking to enhance the accessibility a little bit more, maybe this semester or the following semester, but as of right now, a good amount of the data is being retrieved from the database schema that we created, and it is so far working pretty well.
Awesome. And what data does that track, and how does that interact with the chatbot?
So the data that it tracks is a combination of various pieces of data that members of the Communities of Hope program have put together last semester or previous semesters about correction facilities, juvenile justice system, calls, various data around that. And basically the goal of the chatbot is to help incarcerated youth and youth in the foster care system to have access to those helpful resources.
Awesome. What upcoming projects do you and your team have, and which one are you most excited about?
So one project that we're currently working on right now is the Communities of Hope inventory tool, and essentially that tool is an automated software tool that is designed to collect data and information from Roger Williams University. So for example, RW Athletics, campus events that are happening, student organization events, clubs, and more university overall campus events. And the tool basically grabs all that data in one area for people to look at and for us to basically scrape. They're called scrapers, and that is something that we're currently working on, and probably my most exciting project that I'm looking forward to is the impact tracker, which is basically tracks when people access the Communities of Hope website, how long they are on the website, page interactions, various things like that, and that is what I'm most excited to start working on.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you wanted to share from the data or tech dev team?
I am excited to see what is to come this semester and upcoming semesters. We hope to create more automated tools and help benefit and encrypt and secure Communities of Hope data, so that way that it can stay safe and confident, and the confidential data can stay secure. So really just focusing on that and progress is the ideal. So that's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Ashlyn.
Thank you.
All right, we are back. You are listening to WQRI 88.3 FM, Roger Williams University Student Radio, right here in Bristol, Rhode Island.
Thank you to our partners and collaborators, East Greenwich. Oh, goodness. Never mind. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. Okay. The Hawks Herald is a Rogers news outlet with the latest edition of the paper coming to newsstands around campus soon. You can also check them out online at the Hawks Herald or follow them on Instagram.
Do you enjoy writing or reporting, or are you just interested in more? Come join the Capsize Tribune. The Capsize Tribune is a completely student-run group that dives deeper into the stories being told on campus. We write on a variety of different topics, such as campus updates, investigative pieces, student senate updates, and so much more. We also explore off-campus issues as well, so we're not just looking at our tiny little campus here in Bristol, we're also expanding beyond that as well. We pride ourselves in letting our members write about stories that interest them and allowing them to explore deeper into those topics. Maybe there was something that you thought was really interesting within a course that you took here and want to learn more about it. Well, this is your perfect opportunity to use the resources already available to them and investigate further on topics of interest. You can gain writing, editing, and interviewing skills all while working with us. There are no limits to the things that you can achieve with the Capsize Tribune. If you're interested in learning more, check out our Instagram at Capsize Tribune, our YouTube at The Capsize Tribune, or you can check out our website at capsize.rw.me for all of our most recent stories. You can also come and attend our weekly meetings in GHH 103, also known as the Newsroom, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. You can meet our team, see what we do, and ask any questions that you may have. We hope to see you there. Earlier in the show, we had Sarah Price on the show to talk about her interview with SJN co-team lead Rachel Cabral about how, even though February is Black History Month, the research and advocacy that Rachel, as well as many others, are doing is not just for February. It's something for all year long. This is a really interesting story that Rachel has about Thomas White, someone who's extremely important to the abolition movement and just the history of slavery in general. Sarah Price, which, like I said, she was here earlier, she sat down with Rachel this morning to talk about her research and all that she's doing. Oops. Alana, do you have anything going on while we while we get this going here? Because
yeah. Well, hold on, I'm trying to think, because usually I say like music stuff. I don't think there's been anything new. I think me and Kelly talked about Zayn's new single last week. I'm trying to think. There's definitely something new that just came up the other day. But if you have the interview, I can talk about it after.
Have the thing up. I accidentally closed the tab. That was my bad. I'm so sorry. All right.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Hope Pod Live. I'm Sarah Price, and I'm here with Rachel Cabral, who did a research project on Thomas White, a 19th century freedom seeker. So, Rachel, if you can just explain a bit about yourself and the project that you did.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Cabral. I am a senior here at Roger Williams. I major in history, and I've been working on this project for, I want to say, a little bit over a year now. I believe that this came to me in the fall semester of 2024. So, yeah, a little bit over a year now. It has been an absolute whirlwind and just such an honor and pleasure. Yeah.
If you can dive into a bit about who Thomas White was and his story for us.
Sure thing. So, Thomas White was a man who was born in Maryland in the early 1800s, and he was actually born into enslavement, and lived in Cambridge, Maryland for a time, and escapes at the age of 15, is what he says in the manuscript. He escapes up the north with the help of abolitionists, and is later married in Boston, actually, kind of in our neck of the woods, and later goes on to travel the world on various sailing ships, working as a cook, a steward, and he travels the world. He spends some time in Melbourne, Australia, and Calcutta. His first voyage is from Boston to San Francisco, and Thomas's story is just pretty remarkable because of the time period and the fact that it is a first person telling of his story, which is not something we see very often with narratives from people who were enslaved. And I just think Thomas is an incredibly remarkable person because of all that he achieves, and he's very industrious and hardworking and always looking for the next best thing to kind of better himself and his situation. And what makes this narrative particularly remarkable is that even though he couldn't write, his life story was preserved through this detailed narrative, which we presume was written down by others. So kind of giving historians this rare first person experience of a formerly enslaved person's life.
That's very interesting. So you said that this was introduced to you early 2024 of your fall semester.
Mm-hmm.
How was it introduced to you? Did you get involved within the project? So if you could just explain a bit about that to us.
Sure. So my first semester at Roger Williams, actually, I took a class with Dr. Carrington Farmer titled Slavery in New England. And during this class, we worked on a CPC project with the Rhode Island slave history medallions, where divided up into groups, we worked on kind of original research to help put together these medallions. And after that class, she saw how much interest I had in this topic. So I think when this manuscript was brought to her, I was kind of lingering in the back of her mind, just because I had made it abundantly clear that of enslaved peoples was a primary historic interest of mine. So Roger Williams alumna Cynthia Elder actually brought this manuscript to Dr. Carrington Farmer after finding it amongst her husband's family documents, and was kind of in shock when she read the first page and really just wondering, why is this in my family's possession? And really just wanting to know more about the document and about Thomas and his life. So brought it to Dr. Carrington Farmer to see if we could get some research done on the document, and everything kind of started from there. Dr. Carrington Farmer invited myself and one other student to begin research on the document, and we were just hitting dead end after dead end after dead end. And then when we invited more students onto the project in Dr. Carrington Farmer's historiography class, that's kind of when things started to pick up again, inviting more people to the team and getting fresh sets of eyes on the document. And I think that collaboration is really at the heart of this project, but I'm incredibly grateful and honored to have been invited to work on the project. And it has genuinely not only altered my career path and opened up doors for me, but this project has altered me as a person. I've learned so much, and I'm just eternally grateful.
And then going off of that, you speak about dead end after dead end after dead end. Was there other documents that you found? How did you learn more about Thomas White?
Yeah, so at first we were kind of just working with this 41-page manuscript, which describes White's escape and his travels in his life. And our first order of business was to kind of read through the manuscript and pull out pieces that we thought might be verifiable in other archival documents. So one of the first things that jumped out to me was his marriage. Okay, marriage somewhere, right? He says he gets married in Boston. There's got to be some sort of marriage record, some sort of record of this happening somewhere. The other thing that was jumping out to me too was his places of employment. He works at a young ladies seminary in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, which is pretty close to us. I mean, especially given the worldwide context of this manuscript, it's way closer than Melbourne, Australia, for example. So that was something else that had jumped out to me. There has to be some sort of record of employment. So our first order of business really was kind of just, after reading it and pulling out these places, historical societies, to that young ladies institute in Pittsfield, which is now, it's still actually a school just under a different name, reaching out and seeing, can we find Thomas somewhere in the archives? And it had been a lot of dead ends. I want to say it was probably an entire semester before we really found anything. And in the back of our mind was kind of this worry that this was a piece of abolitionist propaganda, which was common for the time. Abolitionists would write stories about formerly enslaved peoples who would escape from enslavement and go on and do these great things like Thomas did. And that was, it sort of functioned as propaganda to the effort. So in the back of our mind is, what if this isn't real? What if this is a piece of abolitionist propaganda? Which I think kind of encouraged us further to really pursue Thomas in the archival documents and verify that he did exist. So in spring semester, so the last spring semester, so 2025, we found his marriage record, actually, which was the very first breakthrough in everything, because it was our, oh my gosh, we found him moment. Thomas really did exist. And beyond that, it kind of opened up the doors, because once you tug on one string and something starts to come, it's kind of like a domino effect where a bunch of stuff starts to set up. We were able to find out more about his wife through finding that marriage record and really just begin to trace down and try to figure out if he has had children. Because one of our main goals of this project too is to reunite the manuscript with his descendants. So yeah, that marriage record was very paramount and one of the first documents that we found. Beyond that, we've done research into census records, ship logs, which have been harder to get a hold of, but we are looking for those. And just another thing too is a big part of this project is historical context. So trying to figure out the places that Thomas references and the events that he references, and just verifying these events that are described in the manuscript. But yeah, I would say the marriage record was especially important because it was that first firm proof that Thomas White did exist.
And then going off of that, with your Smithsonian interview, which we'll get into later, for those of you who don't know, Rachel was interviewed by the Smithsonian Magazine. But the marriage records that you found out that Thomas was married to Ellen Stewart. And in your interview, you mentioned that she was enslaved to President James Madison and his wife, Dolly Madison. That's very interesting. Can you get more into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was, I will never forget that day when we found that out. I just remember my jaw dropping, particularly because I had already thought that this manuscript had such importance in history and in modern conversations, that thought that his wife Ellen being formerly enslaved by President James Madison kind of gave this manuscript even more like importance, particularly on the national level. So yeah, her mother was Suki Stewart, who was enslaved to President James Madison And Ellen, from what we understand, was born into enslavement, and she escapes. Well, attempts to escape. Unfortunately, her attempt was not successful. On board the Pearl, and this is the largest non-violent attempt at escape from enslavement. So if you thought Thomas was in her own right, yeah, so that was pretty remarkable when we found that out. As I mentioned, the escape attempt was not successful, but thankfully there were abolitionists in Boston who raised funds to purchase Ellen's freedom, which is actually how she ends up in Boston and where. But yeah, I will absolutely never forget the day that we found that out. And yeah, I was just in awe of Ellen and her act of courage and just complete bravery to try and escape and
then what are you doing now? Are you still continuing your research? What are the next steps from here?
Yeah, we are still continuing our research. Just yesterday, actually, I spent a pretty good amount of time doing some research, trying to find the family who enslaved Thomas, because we think that answering that question could lead to a lot more, and finding more documents that mention Thomas and just understanding more about his life, because unfortunately the manuscript does end very abruptly. So another one of our goals is to figure out, okay, what happens to Thomas after this manuscript ends. So right now we're kind of going back to the beginning to what his life was like in Maryland and the family that he was enslaved by, which is proving to be very hard. Of course, Thomas does not mention any names of his enslavers. He just mentions that he had a quote unquote mistress that, so presumably she was widowed, and that said mistress had a son who studied in, I believe, Philadelphia. So it can be hard to kind of piece little pieces of information like this together to form a complete picture. But no, the research is very much still underway. And beyond that, we've been doing a lot of trying to bring Thomas's story to the wider public and not just keep it in the ivory tower of academia, I guess you could say. And one of my goals is to make Thomas White a household name. I want everyone to know his story and to talk about him, not only because of his absolutely courageous act of escape from enslavement, but just because of how remarkable he is in traveling the world. And I think his story has so much to offer to time that he lived in and what the world was like at that time, particularly for those of us who are interested in sailing history. So we will be at the Heart Festival, I believe it's called, in April, presenting on Thomas, and we actually had an exhibit at the library. We gave a presentation in the Mary Chef White Cultural Center and had an exhibit up in the library. I believe it was from November to January. That just came down, but we'll actually be presenting at Smith's Castle in April too. So more information to come on that. But yeah, we're always doing something, always trying to teach and talk about Thomas and really keep this important conversation going. But no, there are definitely big plans for the Thomas Project.
And then going off of what you just said, Thomas's story and everything is really important. You want it to become a household name. But why is it especially important in February? February is Black History Month. So how is that important now, especially?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times we need to center Black history, particularly during the month of February, but just in general, because Black history and African American history is American history. It should be a part of these conversations. It's important. In my opinion, all history is important because it formed the world that we live in today. It provides this context for why things are the way they are today. And Black history is very much a part of that, very much a part of the reason we are where we are today. And I think stories like Thomas's remind us that history, it's not abstract. It's made of real people whose voices were often silenced or overlooked. And we're having these conversations today about how to discuss slave history and whether or not we have these oftentimes hard conversations. And I think the answer is yes, now more than ever, especially in February when we're reflecting on Black history and important Black figures. And I think Thomas is absolutely one of them. The manuscript just arrives at kind of the perfect time. Like I said, America teaches slavery and race. And I think it's a powerful reminder that understanding the past in an honest way helps us to understand the present. And I think that Thomas's story is incredibly valuable. And like I said, I really do hope he's a household name one day.
And circling back to the start of our conversation, I'm sorry for jumping around.
No worries.
You said that you found, or these manuscripts were brought to you, by Cindy Elder. Did you ever find out how she found these documents, or you said that they were in her husband's possession, how he got these documents? Did you find out more about that?
So we don't know why they have them. We have a guess, but this manuscript was among other family documents. So Cindy's husband's ancestors were a sailing family, and Cindy actually has written 2 books that detail their story, that she used other documents that were found amongst the manuscript to kind of write her books and tell their story. So definitely check those out. But yeah, we don't know why the manuscript was amongst those documents. We have a guess, which is that Thomas must have worked in some capacity, probably as a ship's cook, on one of that sailing family's, the Elder family's ships, is our best guess. And there is reference in one of the family's Black cook who comes aboard the ship. And when Cindy and I read it, we think that it's Thomas, but there has to be more research done to really verify whether or not that's the case. But that's our best guess right now.
And then, again, I'm so sorry for jumping around all the time, but has anyone reached out, ancestors of Thomas White? Have they heard about this? Have you found out anything, or are you still looking?
So I think that's kind of been one of my hopes from the jump, as I mentioned earlier, kind of to reunite this manuscript with his descendants. And I believe I said this in the Smithsonian podcast. If you're listening, do reach out. We really do mean that. Recently, we received an email from someone who is in some way, shape, or form related to Ellen. And I don't know if it's a direct descendant or how they're related, but shared some information with us, and it was information that we had already known, actually, which was great, kind of just a way to verify it. But we will definitely be following up on that and seeing what else is there, because it is really important to us to get this manuscript and this story back to Thomas's descendants.
And sorry, about how it's Black History Month, how his story is important, but how is his story important for Rhode Island and Boston, even because he was married in Boston, just the New England area in general? Like, how is his story so important for this?
Yeah, for Rhode Island specifically, the story's pretty local, just given the fact that the manuscript was found by Cynthia Elder. And I mean, like I said, she's an alumni from Roger Williams, so it's even Roger Williams specific. But it's also being studied by historians who are connected to these Rhode Island institutions. So myself and Cynthia and Dr. Carrington Farmer are all Roger Williams based, all working on the project. We also have Dr. Timothy Walker from UMass Dartmouth, who's been working on the project, so another kind of local connection there. And then we've also been in contact with Brown University, possibly discussing housing the manuscript at the John Hay Library there. So even though Thomas, I mean, as far as we know, doesn't spend any time in Rhode Island, I mean, that is possible. He doesn't mention it in the manuscript. But beyond that, it's just kind of a Rhode Island story because of where the manuscript was found and how it's kind of Rhode Island institutions that are handling it at the moment. I also think it's very important in a Rhode Island and New England context because it shows how New England, it kind of opens up a conversation about slavery in New England, I think is really important because a lot of in regards to slavery, we talk about the good old North, the free North, and don't have conversations about how, no, slavery did exist here. Not that Thomas was enslaved here he escapes up the North and is able to really start his life of freedom in Boston, which is a beautiful thing. But I think we also need to discuss what's happening before Thomas and how slavery did exist here and how Rhode Island was deeply involved in the slave trade. And it also just reminds us that Black history, it's not just Southern history. It's woven into Rhode Island's own archives and universities, still sailing culture. So yeah, I do think this story is pretty pertinent to Rhode Island.
And then just to wrap up our conversation, you mentioned earlier that the manuscript kind of ends abruptly. How does it end? If you can just go into that.
So the last pages of the manuscript are fading, and it's Thomas describing being abroad on a voyage, and then it really just ends. The last page, you can barely read it just because of the fading and it's ripped a bit, and then there's just no more pages. And as I mentioned earlier, we really want to find out what happened to Thomas. Does he live a very long life and continue to travel the world? Or does he come back to the United States and settle down with Ellen and they live into an old age? Or does something awful happen on one of the voyages? We really don't know the answer to that, unfortunately. And it is something that we would love to figure out. I remember my first time reading the manuscript in its entirety was a transcribed version on Google Docs. And I remember it just ending. And I was like, wait, what? There's no more? So yeah, we definitely want to figure out what happened after that.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for your time. For those of you listening, if you want to learn more about Rachel and her research with Thomas White, you can go to Smithsonian to listen to the interview that she did there, which is called A Stunning Escape from Slavery Told on Tattered Pages. She will also be at the Roger Williams University Heart Fest in the spring. That's going to be on April 23rd and April 24th. And then, Rachel will also be at Smith's Castle in April, and we'll have more information on that to come soon. Again, Rachel, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we end our conversation?
Yeah, I encourage people to go out and listen to the podcast and read the article that Smithsonian wrote about Thomas. Not for my sake, but please learn about deportation. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you for everybody for listening, and have a great rest of your day.
Take care.
All right, we are back, and you are listening to 88.3 FM, WQRI, Roger Williams University Student Radio in Bristol, Rhode Island. Thank you so much to Rachel and Sarah for that super, super interesting and insightful conversation about Thomas White and the manuscript and just his history of his life and how local his roots really are. So again, thank you both for that really insightful conversation.
Before we sign off, we wanted to share some of the exciting things that Communities of Hope has coming to you this semester. First, we have our first newsletter of the semester coming out very soon. Keep an eye on our social media Hope and at HopePodLive_COH for more updates. Additionally, we are adding some new hosts to our amazing team and we'll be welcoming them on future episodes. We will have some events coming up, including one very special one later in April at the end of the semester.
Which, is Heartfest, which we mentioned on the end of the interview. So yes, join us for Heartfest at the end of the semester, April 23rd through the 26th. Thank you so much to our collaborators and partners, East Greenwich News, EcoRI News, Ocean State Stories from Salve Regina, Providence Eye, the Public Radio, the Rhode Island PBS, Rhode Island Current, and Rhode Island News Today. This program is brought to you by Communities of Hope Civic Media. I'm your host, Alex Tavalone.
And I'm your host, Alana Lamine. You can find our recordings at communitydrivennews.org. Stay tuned, up soon. Thank you so much for listening to WQRI 88.3, and we will see you back here next week, same place, same time.
And we just want to give a quick shout out to all of our amazing team, starting with Abby Stark,
Addison Mason, Alana Lamine,
Alex Tavalione,
Alexa Benson Amarante,
Aaliyah Gillette Brown,
Anna Dwyer,
Anna Pellegrini,
Anisha Bell,
Ashlyn Keating,
Brenna Medeiros,
Brianna Forsora,
Caroline
Fitz, Catalina Hortolano,
Claire Davis, Colin McKay, Elizabeth Kant,
Ella Levitt,
Emma O'Neill,
Eric Tech,
Fatima Rasuli,
Gabby Loca,
Haley Silva,
Jack Dealey,
Jacob Barber,
Jillian Dorff,
JT Lawrence,
Callie Blackerby,
Kate Tortoloni,
Kaylee Diaz,
Lugina Florival,
Michaela McDonald,
Mackenzie Wolf,
Mason Caserta,
Mason DeSimone,
Matthew Gauman,
Michaela Gain,
Megan Harvey,
Michelle Steiber,
Michaela Hooden,
Molly Stinchfield,
Najee Young,
RJ Rude,
Rachel Cabral,
Rebecca Shuffler,
Roslyn Idarosa,
Sarah Price,
Shania Brown,
Sky Merrow,
and Zara Atay. Thank you to all of our amazing team for all of the work that they did. Like Alana said, we will see you next week at 12 o'clock on WQRI 88.3 FM, Roger Williams University Student Radio.